Welcome to part 3 of our post-operative complications series on infections. In the first part of the series, we talked about prevention of post-operative infections. The second part was about monitoring and the things to look out for should you start developing an infection. And now in this part of the series, we're going to be talking about some of the possible interventions that you could potentially expect should you get a post-operative infection. So when it comes to any kind of post-operative complication, such as an infection, your number one thing is always going to be to notify the surgeon as soon as you suspect or see something's wrong. Because early intervention is really going to make the difference between just a minor infection and something systemic that could potentially be life-threatening. So always make sure that you notify your physician should you notice anything that seems kind of off. So in most cases, you will be put in an antibiotic post-operatively just to decrease the chances of you developing an infection, but it is still possible to get an infection after surgery, even with the antibiotics they put you on. So the key factor really is to catch it as early as possible while it's still small and controlled. And sometimes it's just a matter of changing the antibiotic in order to be more effective for the bacteria that you have going on. Despite what antibiotic you get put on, the most important thing is that you're taking it exactly as instructed and that you're taking the full course of the antibiotic until the bottle is empty. Because if you start skipping doses or if you stop the antibiotics early, you can develop antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And antibiotic-resistant bacteria is a lot harder to cure and to take care of and could even require hospitalization in up to 6 to 8 weeks of IV antibiotics. So it's really important that you be as proactive as possible and follow directions exactly how your surgeons are ordering them. Now, sometimes in addition to changing the antibiotic, it is also necessary to open and clean out the wound if it's gotten infected. Whether or not your incision needs to be opened and cleaned out will depend on whether or not the infection got into the incision itself and the severity of the infection. So your surgeon will be the best person to recommend what course of action should be taken. Now, should your incision need to be opened and cleaned out, it will unfortunately in most cases impair the look of the incision and the scarring once it does heal. But the priority when you have an infection is obviously getting rid of the infection, and there are things that you can do later on once you're all healed to diminish the appearance of the scar. And we'll talk about that in other videos. So if your incisions do get infected, doing good daily dressing changes and wound care are going to be vital in order to not only get rid of the infection, but also improve the look of the incision and the scar later on once you're fully healed. And so your doctor will give you instructions on exactly what kind of dressing changes to do, how often, and if you need to apply any kind of ointment or medication directly to the incision to help the process along. In future videos, I'll be sharing how to do some basic dressing changes and the supplies that you'll need in order to do it properly so that you can do them yourself at home just in case you flew out of the country for surgery and are already back home and need to do them yourself, or if you don't have the assistance of your nurse. So stay tuned for those. That completes the third part of postoperative complications on infections. I really hope that you guys are finding the material useful and easy to understand. I always welcome comments and suggestions as to how we can improve our videos to make them of more value and more understandable for you guys. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to reach out to us. We're open ears over here. And until next time, be well. As we say at Beauty Abroad International, it's your beauty magnified. Take care.